The Rosie and Bill Show wish to thank our primary sponsors. The Malin Agency, located in Springfield, PA, where they take pride in exceeding expectations every time. Anthony DeCecco and our friends at Tennis Addiction are ready to serve all your tennis needs at their beautiful facility in Exton, PA. Welcome everyone to the Rosie and Bill Show. From a pitcher's mound in California to the mountains of Colorado and the hills of Tennessee, our guest this week has built an incredibly impressive resume of accomplishments. Please welcome to the Rosie and Bill Show, actor, singer, songwriter, producer, host, and founder of Canyon Star TV, Joey Canyon. Joey, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you so much, Bill and Rosie, for having me. What a bunch of kind words to begin this interview. Thank you so much.
I'll tell you, as Bill was doing the intro, I'm thinking to myself, I just don't do enough.
I was going, who is this guy?
Well, let's go back. Bill talked about California, the pitcher's mound. Well, let's start there, Joey, because I know that was a very important part of your life. What fueled your dreams of baseball and going to the big leagues?
You know, I just loved playing baseball. I was a pitcher, and it just started from Little League, and it was a happenstance that I became a pitcher back when I was 11, because the main pitcher for the team, who is a dear friend of mine to this day, he had slid into home and broke his wrist, and so I became a pitcher. So I loved it so much, I just continued on doing that. I also played center field, but pitching was my main deal through Little League and Babe Ruth, and through high school, college, and a little bit of the semi-pro stuff. Baseball really was my number one desire. My total encompassed everything. But, during that time I started at 11 years old, I also started to learn how to play guitar because I love to sing and play guitar. So that's how the baseball deal came about. And then
apparently God had other plans for you. What happened?
The Lord took me, how he does, he just kind of takes a detour and says, no, this is where you're going. So I had injured my rotator cuff, and that pretty much back in those days ended a pitching career. And so I go, well, okay, I was very grateful that I had a great career. And I go, all right, now I'm going to do music, because that's what I could fall back on. I was very fortunate to have that to fall back on. So then back in those days, I moved to Colorado, where I spent most of my life. And I just began my music career of performing, of course, in the small bars and clubs and things like that. And I was recording at the same time, learning to record and all of that. So that's how it kind of started out.
Why, before Bill, I know you've got something you want to ask him, but why Colorado? I'm just curious.
During my college days, when I played junior college in California at College of the Canyons, and then I got a full ride scholarship to my high school coach's alma mater of college, and that was Chadron State in Nebraska. So we would periodically come south to Colorado and play various teams there, and I always liked it there. And then when my college and baseball career was over and I was back in California, I had an opportunity to move to Colorado for a job. And I said, I was young and adventurous, and I said, sure. So I moved to Colorado. In the first month I was there, I knew I wasn't going back to California. So
Wow.
it affected me that much. So I always tell people my heart is in Colorado, but my musical soul is in Nashville.
You talked about Nashville just a second ago, but what was the music scene like in Colorado back then?
It was actually quite favorable for country music. There were a lot of country nightclubs. Uh, you're talking about the time when really uh, the Gambler, and Kenny Rogers, that whole thing started going. When the urban cowboy craze and that kind of deal. So there were plentiful nightclubs to work in Denver and surrounding areas in that tri-state kind of area to perform in, and I took advantage of every one of them.
Well, that's great. I mean, whenever you can get into a music scene in a city and get into that energy and vibe is always a good thing, and start to build a following and just get into the flow of it. But you also had another job there. You worked for NFL Films, right? How did that come about?
Well, that during the '70s and part of the '80s, I, I I was one of the type of people that wanted to do everything. I wanted to try everything, and so I'd already been doing a little acting and modeling kind of thing along the way, but I wanted to learn the production business. So I took advantage of that through a good friend of mine, Sam Allen, who had a production company, and I learned the ropes from him. And I learned every position behind the camera, and then started my own production coordination company and worked for, PBS, Viacom, uh, you name it, documentaries and movies and television. And sometimes when I was working behind the camera, they would ask me to be in front of the camera. And it was just a fun time, and I learned all of that. And through that association, uh, I was asked through Sam to be a loader and assistant cameraman with NFL Films. So I said, sure. I wanted to do that and learn the film. That's when NFL Films was film back then. It was 16 millimeter. And so I did all of the home games for the Broncos and all of the playoff games at Mile High Stadium for 8 years? Yeah. And
You know, that's a great place to see some football too. That was
well, I'll tell you what, it's very easy to watch TV and watch an NFL game and be critical about certain things and everything. But remember, what we're viewing is was from a high level camera looking down on the field. But when you're on the field and you are level with these players, and you are as close as you can be to the hitting and the speed of this game, and the largeness of some of these players, it's a whole different perspective and appreciation for what they do.
Do you think the game has evolved quite a bit since you were working for NFL Films?
Yeah, not all of it real good. So it's all digital now. They use digital cameras. They don't do film. Um, and I just think that, and this goes right along with baseball. Why I really don't watch that much baseball is because, you know, you don't fix something that doesn't need fixing. And they've changed rules and they changed the way the game is. I mean, for crying out loud, I was a pitcher and now you get 20 seconds before you need to throw a pitch. I mean, there's a psychological game there when you do the timing thing and this and that, and that's all gone.
Right.
And so I'm just very disenchanted. I was very fortunate, Rosie and Bill, to play in the time that I did. So I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, and I agree with a lot of what you're saying, Joey. And it's to your point about, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And one other thing that really impressed me during that time, you were just talking about your experience at NFL Films. You had all these different things. You're on both sides of the camera. You're doing musically. You've got all these things going. But one other thing that really impressed me about you was you also overcame some hurdles and obstacles personally, and you really came out the other side and a better man for it. So how did you manage to work through all that you were doing and all that you were dealing with during those years?
Well, I'll tell you, when you're younger, you don't make a lot of good choices sometimes, and I'm guilty of that. And so when you do that, you bring on adversity that normally wouldn't be there. And then just the toughness of the music business, the toughness of trying to jump through all the hoops to get signed to a label and this and that. I mean, I did all of that. But I mean, I remember in 1993, I moved to Nashville from Denver, and I spent a year there trying to get signed to a label. And I made a lot of great connections and a lot of friends, but it was very, very tough back then. I mean, right now, in this day and age, it's self-promotion. I mean, you can call yourself your own record label. You can do this, and you can put yourself out there on YouTube and all of the other social media platforms and things like that. We didn't have that back then. And you either got signed to a label or you just sang locally at home, one or the other. Well, I spent a whole year there, had to hawk my guitar for gas money to get back to Denver. I'm not telling you a story that hasn't happened many, many times to other people, but it was tough. But I ended up, overcoming these things. And I did an interview earlier, and I told them, I said, if you don't overcome these obstacles, if you don't overcome adversity, if you quit the first time when it's tough, the second time it's going to be easier to quit. And then you're creating a habit. And guess what? If it doesn't work out for you, you're just going to quit all the time. And guess what? You won't be anybody, So I just had the determination, and I got a lot of that from athletics, that is a good life lesson, and of how to overcome a bad inning, how to overcome certain aspects of the game, and coming from behind to win the game. Well, you can do that in life too. And so I just applied that and was fortunate to withstand all the bullets and all of that with my career and in everything that I've done, and life's ups and downs as well, and that's brought me here. But really, I would not be here if it wasn't for the Lord. I'm just telling you.
That was my next question. How important has your faith been?
All important, all important, all important. I give glory to the Lord every morning. Thank him for where I am. I just did that a couple of hours ago, going, Lord, I wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for you. And he continues to bless me through this journey with the network, with Canyon Star TV. I mean, that's been over 6 years now, and he brought me, and Kelly, my co-founder and president, brought her and I to this point where we look at this with a television network with over 900 titles and over 7,000 episodes. And we would have never dreamt that it would have been this big, but it continues to grow daily. So
Well, Joey, let's go back to that because Bill and I were talking before the show that, in 2016, as we were reading your bio, it's like, oh, he won all these awards as an artist, and you had the Joey Canyon show, and then all of a sudden you parlayed into a network. How did that even come about?
Well, back in 2011, I had the idea of creating a country music variety show, and that's where the Joey Canyon show came about. I took it to RFD TV back then, and who did I talk to but Kelly Kantz, my president? She worked there, told her about my idea, and I was in Nashville recording an album and went over and saw her about it. And she said, look, it's a great idea. Get me a sizzle reel. Let's take a look at it. And a few years later, I finally could put together a first class sizzle reel, sent it to her. They loved it. And that's how my show got on national television, was very, very successful. And then through to the third season, or the end of the second season, I wanted to go to an hour show instead of a half an hour. And we had some disagreements, not her, but through the network. And I just said, I think I'm after looking at television and finding everything in there with sex and violence and profanity and nudity and all that, that was another, that pulling my show off the air and having that happen at the same time, I go, I'm going to start my own network. I'm not going to have anybody tell me what to do anymore. I know what I want to do. And that's how it started. And the first 4 years, I did all the heavy lifting. I mean, I put this thing together from an idea and a vision, and put together the people to help me, and prayed very hard every day. And then by the fourth year, I could bring Kelly on, and she is the head of, the content and programming, and what you see on the network is a collaboration of what we've brought on the network, but she does most of it. So that's really the story of how it went. And I really wanted a 100% family friendly network. And guess what? 100% family friendly commercials as well.
Well, that's
the commercials are getting as bad as some of the other stuff.
Oh, yeah.
you're right. Some of them they really push the envelope, even on regular network television, Joey. I totally agree. And I'm curious, you said there's over 900 programs on the network. What is that process, like the selection process? Is there a certain criteria, or how do you go about determining who makes the cut to get on Canyon Star TV?
Well, there's a number of things, Bill. Certainly we have a criteria list. Number one, production wise, it has to be good quality. It has to be high resolution. Now, the catch to that is we do have some nostalgic TV out there on the network that prior to high res cameras and all that, but we air that because that's all we had. But when the new programming comes, we look at the quality of the program. We certainly look at the entertainment value, and then it has to cut the mustard with the, no profanity and no sexual nudity, this, that, and the other thing, no graphic stuff and all of that. So there is a process. And then Kelly and I make the determination whether we put it on or not. But we welcome producers and directors and writers out there with content that have not a place, not a home, that want their material, their programming out there, so they can always reach us. So
Yeah, because what's interesting, Joey, I know that a couple times a year, a faith-based film will come out. Usually it's lower budgets. We had a couple years back, we had David A.R. White, who came out with the God's Not Dead film series.
Yeah.
And there is such a desire for that family-friendly, faith-based and different types of things where, again, you can leave your child in front of the television and not have to worry about it. So I can't help but think that there's a lot of people out there that are maybe looking for a home, and that home is you.
Well, we welcome them with open arms. If everything looks good, we'll put it on. And if you go to the net, if you go to Canyon Star TV, you can scroll down to the faith genre, the faith category, and look at some great shows in there. I'm very proud of that faith category. So.
Are you still writing and performing?
I'm still writing. Yes, I'm still writing. As a matter of fact, my producer, Curtis Stone, and I will be in the studio to record some new songs. It's been a while since we've been in the studio. We were fortunate last time we were in the studio, and I'm looking at a deal here on the wall of our last #1 hit. It was our 8th #1 hit. Called On Country Radio, and that's been a while. So we need to get back in the studio and do that.
Joey, with all you've done and all the different accomplishments you've had in so many different areas, is there anything left on your to-do list or bucket list? Anything left that you haven't done that you want to get done?
Yeah, I think eventually, and I have a particular individual that I can't mention at this point, but he is a faith-based director, producer, and actor that has had some films out there that are really good. And we've talked, and we have a lot of synergy, and I would like to produce or co-produce with him a film, a movie. And that's what we're working towards. I want to do that. I have, believe it or not, I have no less than 25 new television shows that I want to produce for Canyon Star TV. And they are great shows. They are great shows. And some of them I developed, and some of them will collaborate with other producers and directors. I want to do those things.
And you'll shoot them where? In Nashville?
It'll be Nashville. It'll be on location. It'll be all over the place. I don't kind of pigeonhole it and say, well, it's got to be done here in Nashville in the studio. No, we'll do some studio stuff here. We'll do some location shooting, but it'll be wherever it needs to be. So that'll be very exciting. So I'm in the middle right now of working with our financial advisors to bring in the large strategic investors to take us to the next level. So we're entertaining investors that are interested in being a part of the network.
One of the things I can't help but wonder, as I'm listening to you talk about, I love the passion and everything that you bring to the table. But one thing I can't help but wonder is, do you ever sleep?
Oh, what is that? Geez. What about, when you do work, whatever you do, when you bring the Lord in and ask him for help, and you do all of what you need to do and all of that, when you're done for the day, I sleep like a baby. I really do, because I don't worry about things. I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there to worry about with what I'm doing right now, but I do not, because I've already put it in his hands. So when I go to sleep, I know that the Lord's working and I'm sleeping. So
that's the inner peace that we all strive for.
right, exactly.
Amen.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you so much, Joey, for joining us and sharing all of your work with us and your
Can I mention one thing, Rosie?
Absolutely.
if I would just encourage all of your investors, yours and Bill's viewers, to go to Canyon Star TV and sign up for free. It's free. And you just need an email and a password of your choice. And look, that unlocks all of the shows and everything, and you can watch it for free. I just wanted to get that little plug in there, but I just have to tell you, it's been a pleasure to be with both of you, and if you want me back on, I'd be happy to do it.
Definitely. And we're glad that you plugged the show, because it is good for people to know how they can access all of the content, and especially people who want good content.
Well,
high vibration.
Yeah, this network is designed to have something for everyone. And once you go on there and you see everything, you just literally go, there is something for everybody. I mean, there is. I mean, from sports to faith to cooking to, of course, music and comedy and movies. So you bet, absolutely.
It's a work of love and a beautiful service that you're doing, for everyone. And we thank you so much for coming on the show. And folks, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you. God bless you.
This week's episode has been brought to you by Doherty & Company Insurance Services for all your business and personal insurance needs. Our friends at Tennis Addiction in Exton, PA. And the Malin Agency, where exceeding expectations is how they do business.